Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard. Welcome to yet another edition of the Pan-African Pyramid Show here at Fairway Hotel. We are always live at Fairway Hotel every Friday from 8 p.m. in Kampala here. And the entrance to this debate is absolutely free. A recorded version of the same runs on NBS television every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. and they repeat on Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, your speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing, is borrowed Western democracy fit for Africa's politics? The democracy that we embrace in Africa. We all know what we call democracy. It's not our democracy. This is a borrowed system by the colonizers who actually left Africa many years ago, but they left their systems here to manage us. The very systems they were using when we were here on the continent to manipulate the Africans is the same system they left with us. And so we have supervisors in black skin, but they are supervising and presiding over the system that the white man used in Africa to manipulate us. And one of them is what they call the democracy, the system of governance that was meant to ensure the black man loses everything that means importance to him. And then you are left with only crumbs to simply make you survive. You know, they simply want to leave you with some little blood for survival. But the rest of the wealth, the rest of the knowledge, everything that means is of importance to a human being, they put a system that will actually drain you to the marrows. So one of the systems is how the leaders of African countries manage the affairs of those respective countries of Africa. And so we say this borrowed Western democracy, they call it democracy, but the same democracy, quote unquote, that they left here, they do not actually practice it in America, or in the Western world. They do not practice it. However, they bring it here. They want you to practice it. And so, in America, where they say democracy is of a hybrid, there are actually two parliaments, the parliament for the commons and the parliament for the rich. In other words, they have already divided the people. Isn't it, Mr. Garama? They have two parliaments, but we are all human beings. Why are you putting two parliaments? So there is a parliament for the commons, you, the commoners. Then there is a parliament for the bellied people, the politicians. And so when the commons vote, the final say rests in the hands of the second parliament. I think that is correct. Then they call that one democracy. I thought democracy means that the majority take the day. If we are here, we want to elect a leader, and we say those in favor of Mr. Garama stand behind him, and 99% stand behind him, only 2% stand behind me. Then you create another parliament, and they say, but now we need to create another parliament that understands for the other majority one. And this one, their decision is actually going to overpower the majority decision. So the likes of Obama, Biden, Trump, and so on, therefore, if they sat in another parliament, they can overturn the choices of the other majority. And that's what they are calling democracy. There are many examples they can give, so many. So we want to discuss this. Is it tenable? Before the colonials came to Africa, we had our systems of governance, Comrade Rugarama. We had them. Our chiefs, our kings, those were the presidents. Those were the kings. If anybody made a mistake in their kingdom, the supreme leader was the king or the chief, isn't it? They would take you before them, and a decision would be taken immediately. Today, somebody has a land problem in Kabarole, and they bring the case to the High Court here. And the Chief Justice comes from northern Uganda. Chief Justice doesn't know the boundaries of my land. No.
The natives, the people I live with in the village, they even know where you tether your cows or goats in the village. They even know if you changed those boundaries last night. They can know. You want me to bring my land matter to Kampala. Then this land matter takes 20 years to say they're done. In 20 years, that Muse who had brought the problem is dead. And that is the system they will use to ensure them. That's why today you find 1 million land cases in Kampala. The origin is where? Fort Poto, Kabaroli, Karamoja, Gulu. But the bulk of the cases are here. These chiefs, these chairmen, LC1s, our leadership system, local systems, were very effective. You didn't need to have any money, any amount of money for you to get justice. Comrade Rugama, my lie. You didn't need any amount of money for you to go and seek justice from the chief of your kingdom. As long as you have a matter, you had a matter to resolve, you simply needed to walk there and report. And the two parties would be invited, walking. Today you need a lawyer. You even need some amount of money to deposit in court before they listen to you. The matter will take 20 years. We are creating anarchy. Can't we have our own homegrown solutions to African problems? So should we really continue with this democracy that is borrowed? That for the last, for instance, so many years in Africa, we have not got any working solution. For all the issues that we have had in elections in Africa, the problem has been that we have rigged elections. How? You have tampered with the ballot box. How? You have stuffed ballot papers. In those recent years, people simply used to stand behind their favorites. How can you stuff a human being into a ballot box now? We have stood behind Eric Sako. We have all counted. Now, how will you stuff a human being in the box? But now, they want the ballot boxes to be printed in Germany. The system that is going to count is also computerized, managed in Iraq, in Russia, or Israel, or Iraq. The system. You understand? You saw what happened in Kenya. You've been seeing what is happening in Uganda. Why can't we wake up in the morning, line behind Rugarama, we count the names of the people. You line behind Eric Sako, we count the heads. How many? And the day ends. Today, you are a type of democracy that has been imposed on you by the Western world for their own interests. Because they know that from that ballot box election, there will never be peace. They know. So they are fermenting that kind of anarchy in society right from the time when you are campaigning. Because even registration today, for MP you need 3 million. Presidential you need over 20 million. Just registering, expressing yourself that I want to lead people, pay 20 million. I want to be an MP, pay 3 million. Why? For what? For what? And so the Africans, all of them, you find them going to the bank, pay that money, go and line up. Can't we have brains that we can overturn some of these things? I will begin with you, Comrade Daniel Karama.
Allow me historize the democracy on the African continent. In particular, prior to the coming of the colonial master, the African society was governed under chiefs and kings, and there were other smaller or whatever other groupings, communities with their specific leaders. Matters of political dispensation, economic and social arrangements were governed according to the needs and challenges of that community. We are very well aware of the Asante Kingdom, the Bunyoro Chitara Kingdom, the Uganda Kingdom, the Omanahene. There were so many other kingdoms and chiefdoms well scattered all over the continent where the political questions were posed and answered. And we had, I'm not going to say that we didn't have challenges as the traditional African society, but those challenges were well catered for, and the mechanisms of solving those challenges, be the challenges, be them political, economic, or social, were also there.
The challenges these colonial systems have created in Africa are even bigger than what we used to deal with.
Absolutely, and I will come to that in my 20 minutes. It is therefore not correct for anybody, unless you are a neo-colonial scholar, to argue that the tenets of democracy are as put down by the colonial master. Let me also state that this democracy we are talking about, which according to my senior, P.R.O. Lumumba, is defined along the following. One, as far as the colonial master democracy and the imperialistic democracy that we talk about on the African continent, the African respective countries, they should be able to do the following. You must have what they call regular elections. Now, the regular elections are, in the majority of the African countries, 5 years. That after 5 years, you must hold a general election, presidential, parliamentary, local government, and others who have governors. Two, that those elections should be of the nature separate ballot. What the comrade speaker was talking about is no longer the case, because they say it has got to be separate ballot, and that is how a separate can be kept. The other condition is that it should be by free will. I don't know what the free will means, but that even after 5 years, people have to come and vote freely, and that it must be by separate ballot. But also what is of interest is that such an election must also be observed, and the final examiner is in majority of the cases European Union. If it is not, that if the pass mark is not given, or the report for that matter is not given by the European Union observer team, then you have not passed. The democracy, therefore, is defined as nothing else but accountability. The moment a leader is accountable to his or her people, socially, economically, and politically, upon all the angles or the tenets upon which that particular leader was put in place, then to me that is democracy. That is why, for instance, Cuba under Fidel Castro, Raul is but a democracy. Why? Because the leaders consistently have been accountable to the population of Cuba. Russia is certainly a democracy. Why? Because the leaders in Russia are accountable to the population. They care about the health, they will care about the jobs, they will care about the infrastructure. Therefore, there is no way you can apply the standard of America, whose populations, like Econ was telling us, in Chicago, people are dying. America has got a population of well over 40 people who are homeless and sleeping on the streets, and they claim to be a democracy. The moment they have got sections of the people whom they, by design, administratively neglect, they cannot claim to be a democracy. That one is just textbook information. China is certainly a democracy. It is building a population of well over 300 million people who are in the group of millionaires. Meaning, and they have transformed their economy. Right from the 1978 economic miracle, China is now the fastest growing economy globally, and they are providing millions of jobs. There is no way you can describe China as a dictatorship when it has got on average every year millions of people who get out and they come back. What sort of dictatorship is that? How can you therefore apply wrong tenets of democracy, which are applying in your country, to another country to determine the democratic credentials? Rwanda is certainly a democracy. Why? Because They themselves have designed how they elect their leader, and that leader care about the health, he care about the jobs, care about the mothers who are going into the to deliver, care about the education, as long as the leader is accountable to the people. And like the book Darkness at Noon, no leader can lead guiltlessly.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
If we are looking at democracy as per definition, we may, when you look at democracy as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and you stop there, then we are going to miss the point. Because democracy is not only the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. It embraces also the majority over the minority. It also embraces the equal distribution of the national cake. It embraces aspects of human rights. It embraces the rule of law. Are we being governed by the rule of law, or we are governed by rule by law? There's rule by law and rule of law. Certain governments governed by rule of law.
So in your wisdom, Uganda is governed by rule of law?
By rule of law. The rule of law embraces the aspects of constitutionalism.
So Uganda is being ruled on by rule of law?
When I say aspects of constitutionalism, doesn't Uganda have a constitution?
They have, but are they following it?
So it is self-explanatory.
Oh, okay.
Now,
but now the problem is, Comrade Disakwa, there is having a constitution and then there is following a constitution.
I think this is what I've said. Rule by law and rule of law. You can have a constitution and you rule by law. You don't follow the constitution. That is rule by law.
Now that's what I was asking you. According to you, where does Uganda fall?
It is upon
rule of law, rule by law.
I have given you homework. It is upon you to know where we fall.
Okay, next point.
If I give you a goat, you don't ask me even a rope. Find a way of carrying a goat. Mr. Chairman.
I knew you didn't answer that one.
Mr. Chairman. The Western ideal
just started. Now, what bit of information do I have to give you?
The Western ideal models of modern democracy was founded on free political market, issues of non-violence, rule of law, which I've just said, and not by rule of law, and not by law, not ruled by law. Equal distribution of national cake, universalization of service delivery, and now the aspects of globalization has also come up. Now, looking at the nature before the Western democracy came in Africa, what was the nature of democracy before? Were this being followed? Was there respect of human rights during that time? Was there respect of rule of law? Was there a free political market? People were ruling by decree. Someone orders to say, let the Uganda matters be killed, and they are killed. Yes. And this is an Africa. And they are killed. Right now, you cannot order for the killing of people, and the world does not come in. We've been seeing on TV everywhere, focus on Africa, you hear in the Boko Haram killing people in Nigeria. But you hear the voices. Nigeria is bleeding. Even in Uganda here, we had people who were demonstrating. People came up making, they wrote everywhere on Facebook, Twitter, Uganda is bleeding. Uganda is bleeding. Because of the emergence of the human rights activists, and globalization has taken root. Now, it wouldn't have been the bad for us to accommodate the Western democracy. But the point is, the democratic credentials of Africa's politics is still below average, because they have deviated from what they are supposed to do, and they are doing their own things. That's why they brought the Western democracy encompassed what we call a democratic issue, and probably the issues became too big for us to fit in, and anybody could know that we are moving on broad issues. Because what was the democratic issue encompassing? It was encompassing free elections, free from violence, political violence, free from rigging of elections, free from dictatorship. This enfranchisement of what the voters could not take place, but this is now happening. Commercialization of politics, militarization of electoral process. You know, this has come at the time when Africa is practicing this. Yesterday I saw someone climbing the fence like a monkey. Somewhere, I don't know, I was just on TV, I don't know where, but I saw someone.
Yeah, I saw it was around in Najanankumbi.
I probably, because I heard someone who was mentioned Najanankumbi, I don't know where. You said the market, but somebody, someone climbing the fence like a monkey. He passes through a door, but coming out from there, he climbed.
He's waiting for democracy.
No, this is the broad democracy we are talking. Now they have failed to understand the concept of democracy. Because democracy does not mean that we
and you look at the age of the person claiming the fence. It was a young boy, you understand. The age also.
The age.
With the white hair.
We have seen that most of our, in the issues of commercializing politics, the Western model allowed the unelected.
It is your supreme leader who has introduced that system, my friend. So I don't know.
The Western model had allowed the unelected leader to use power and the state machinery to advance their economic interests, economic and political interests. Now, that could have been better. But again, when it came to Africa, it was diluted. It was democratically diluted. And when it was democratically diluted, that each leader who captures power thinks of an ethnic group, you see, and they exclude others, and that is not how Western democracy do. The Western democracy is it is all inclusive.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
Join us for the 6th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards 2023 and 10th Anniversary Bonfire Dinner, recognizing and awarding our forefathers in Pan-Africanism who selflessly fought and defended the rights and freedoms of the black race globally. Happening on the 26th August 2023 at Fairway Hotel from 4 p.m. till late. Dress code is strictly traditional African wear. Come book your dinner card now at table for 8 for 3 million, platinum 1 million, gold 500,000, silver 250,000, bronze 100,000. For inquiries, call 0757 342 317 or 0782 342 317. Powered by the Spy Uganda, Detective Uganda, Fairway Hotel, NBS TV, the Pan-African Pyramid. Africa, don't agonize, organize.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
As a seeker, I always want to approach things from the cause rather than from the symptom. Africans are preoccupied with the consequences of the systems borrowed from wherever they came from.
Western world.
Okay, Western world, whatever. But we are preoccupied with the consequences of these systems, and we are not looking at the cause
Mr. Peter, where are you going?
of our problems. The cause of our problem is, how do we get these democracies coming here? In fact, we shouldn't even be talking about the democracy. We should be talking about what led us here. Now, the colonizer came here in two forms. One is mercenary. Can democracy come from mercenaries? Two, missionaries. Can democracy come from missionaries? when they came to colonize us, these are the two forms they came in, you know, like a sheep putting on, dressed in sheep clothes, but there is a wolf at the back of it. So now, the missionaries over time have gone on changing and changing to become the political elites of our countries. Now, politics is the prostitute of business.
Politics is the prostitute of business.
We are here raping the prostitute. Can that make sense?
No, it doesn't, unless you explain.
And that is the reality. Politics is the prostitute of business. Why are these people here? Because of our natural mineral resources. That is the business they want. Let's come to the reality. What is our business? Our mineral resources.
Is our business.
Is our business. If everyone here would know the price of gold right now, you would have the confidence that something is going to come into your account at the end of the month. If everyone here can learn about the mineral resources we have in our own country, game will be over. But see how they have gone ahead to hide us from learning about our mineral resources, things that should add value to us, and given us their so-called democracy. We shouldn't even be talking about what they have given us, because what they give us can never mature to something substantial for us to enhance our well-being,
for our existence.
For our own existence. He has taught us right from childhood to learn about things that are none of our business, and we are so much preoccupied with the symptoms of the systems they've brought to us, and we are not even minding about, hey, come on, the land we have. We are preoccupied with missionaries kind of work, which is religion. Africa had nothing to do with religion before the coming of these people. Africa had spirituality, and the people were practicing their spiritual values in different ways, which is rituals. Now, when we have rituals going on, in rituals we have our powers. I thank the professor here. What he has just mentioned, that let's return to our culture, our indigenous practices. When we are all catered for, we shall never mind about the politics.
Actually, when you talk about rituals, I remember when recently they were burying the Queen of England, they performed so many rituals. In Africa here, if they found you performing your African rituals, you would be a witch doctor. You would be practicing witchcraft. They would actually even arrest you. Police itself would arrest you. But we all watched when they were burying their leader. There are some rituals that they perform. Continue, go on.
Exactly. Because they don't want us to practice our rituals as the indigenous people of Africa. We are so lost to the extent that we don't know who we are. If I ask you, who are you today? You'll start describing you as an European, as an American, so you are living under a spell of that identity because you've accumulated, and now what you've accumulated has become an authority
over you.
Over you. What do we call an author? Author is authority. So when something becomes of you,
the owner of something,
now that which has been imposed on you masquerades as an authority in you, and it is the only way you see things. In other words, we need to move away from that perspective back to the perception, towards perspective and perception. Today we are interpreting everything depending on their perspective, because they have given us a certain amount of memory.
Even democracy now we are...
It is a perspective, a perspective of their system, not the perception. In spirituality, you manifest in your perception, your instincts, your intuition. You don't let this drama go on when people don't have food to eat. Then you claim you are still leading That is.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
So to wind it up.
Yeah, you must wind up, man.
Sure. Look in the room here. Do you see that we have more men than women?
Yeah.
Meaning men. When it comes to the solidarity of raising a nation, men is a priority. What they do is make sure these men are compromised to the extent that they cannot reason based on their instincts.
Or even convert.
Oh, yeah.
They make sure you don't convert.
And now they put women empowerment.
And when you convert, they make sure you don't agree. True. You must convert to disagree.
True. Now they put women empowerment. They want more women who have gone to the higher levels, that is of the intellect. So if a woman has a degree, they will put her in a position which would be taken over by a man. No, this time they put a woman because put fire, and then the women will all be scared.
To be here, Mr. Masawi Ivan, a former guild aspirant candidate from Chambogo University. Where is he?
I think one thing we also need to pay attention is what was transferred, the transition of the democracy itself. By the time it reached Africa, it was liquidated. Then secondly, the key issue we are not giving attention, the society with which what was being transferred in the transition as democracy from the Western world to fit in a setting with character traits with different, fit in societies which were implementing a different style of leadership approach, to fit in a style where they had interest to benefit when it comes to generating resources, because these are people who came here with interest of missionary work, and the missionaries who had come to preach God ended up leaders. So the interest kept changing over time. So we need to pay attention to really the true transition of the word democracy itself from what was being brought. The Colonel Muammar Gaddafi wrote a book called the Green Book, and in chapter 1, he says the solution to the problem of democracy is the authority of the people. The only solution to the problem of democracy is the authority of people.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
In Africa, it's where we have people whom we saw as leaders, they have become misleaders. Mentors have become tormentors. It's where we have people who claim to be hungry during the day, yet they are eating at night. If you have to observe...
Why are you saying that?
Yeah, they claim to be hungry during the day, but are busy eating at night.
They ate last night.
If you have to observe the level of contentlessness of some of these actors, you'll be surprised. Our politics is not ideologically based. The elections we have are like referendums. Agende over sigare. Those are the questions we have. Yet, we are missing issues. The question should always be what are the problems, not who is the problem. Me, I disagree with the actors who say that it's Western democracy causing problem, but I encourage that we could borrow it, especially on these four strategic issues. On the question of Pan-Africanism, the modern in Africa, the ownership of the gun should be democratically controlled, because that would cause instability.
Who owns the gun and for which reason?
For which reason? It must be democratically controlled. Lastly, for our economic prosperity, we cannot talk of free trade, common market, continental free trade area without democratic participation.
They brought us the system of governance where the one person at the top is supposed to be the head of the country with his appointed people. But now, by that time we were a bit tradition. Now we are educated, and we can borrow that democracy, which we do not call democracy. There is what we call effective democracy. That effective democracy, it is our role, because now we understand We know what is supposed to be done to make this democracy, which is ineffective, that they brought us to make it effective democracy. So it is our role. It is not the role of the Western countries, but it's our role.
Democracy is just an ideology which they brought, that leaders would be put in place by the people. Yet, in fact, it is just designed, and it capitulates particularly on how to capitalize, and then they retain the resources. Actually, it is a source of bondage. The majority, it doesn't take the majority. There is a segment of people who are actually in positions, and they determine who is to be the next leader, who is to lead who, and how. It is not that the majority have a say. No, it is just a small shouting in the wilderness.
Comrade, where are those guys situated so that we can tap on them?
Sorry?
Where are those guys situated? Those guys whom you accuse that they're electing leaders for us. Where are they?
It's the electorate. For, let's say, in Africa. But even these, the electoral commissions in Africa, they don't have power because of neo-colonialism.
Who has the power then?
The power to take you. 2 minutes will not be enough. But
I have borrowed you 1 more minute. Tell me, who has the power?
Thank you. After the First World War and the Second World War.
Now we have gone into history.
Yeah.
Okay.
The whites came with the system because they never wanted to fight against each other again because of the catastrophic events which occurred after the Second World War. So they came up with NATO, and NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. These are member states which symbolically believe. Practically it's not possible, but to them, they claim that the people should be governed according to their desires and their choices.
For me, I have 2 things that I can put ahead of us to think about. First is mindset change. If your mind is in captivity, you will never develop or improve your lifestyle. They captured our mindset to think the way we are thinking, to speak the way we are speaking. They influenced everything. And we are still in the same way. Blame game. The British colonized us. The Americans colonized. America was colonized also. Other countries were colonized. Uganda one time did feed UAE. You remember in the days of Idi Amin Dada. They exported food from Uganda in Uganda Airlines to Dubai. Right now, where do Ugandans go to look for green pasture? What did they do that was different that Ugandans can't do? That Africans can't do? The mindset change. That for us, we are in a cocoon of blaming. I blame Bush, I blame America, and then I go back in my bed and sleep. Let's change the mindset, our mindset, and think forward. What can be changed? If our leaders can't change the status quo, can we echo the voice? Because the voices of the people are the voices of power, are the voices of the government. You, the people, we, the people, we are the people. We are from us. That's where the ministers come from. From us, that's where teachers come from, professors and others. They don't come from animals. So, if it is us who are doing this service to ourselves, what can we do? I go back to the last thing that I said, the first thing I said, let's change our mindset and think positively. Let's stop the blame game and think about how we can develop Africa, how we can develop ourselves.
Democracy, first of all, creates electoral competition. What do I mean? It is through democracy that we have led to the rise of leaders, of politicians, not leaders. Am I making a point? It is through democracy that has led to the rise of politicians who instead go on to use money, to use incomes, splash money into the...
Democracy, you mean this borrowed democracy of Western world?
Yes, that's what I'm meaning.
Okay. You have to be specific. Because Africa had its own democratic values and systems.
The democratic values we had, we cannot actually talk about them right now. Because even the leadership we have just shadows them up. So when I'm talking about democracy, I will talk about the borrowed
Democracy.
Democracy. And when I say democracy, just understand the other democracy.
Okay.
Then another point, it makes decision making so delayed, so much delayed.
Bureaucratic decision making.
Yes, decision making. I'm making my point in that it is through democracy that has brought about the political leadership, whereby you find a ministry, for example, has over 50 offices. For you to make a decision, you have to pass through those 50 offices. So my point of view, and my point to be made now, is that we should restore the cultures, the lost cultures.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
The African institutions that we had weaknesses. The weaknesses is, as Sakwa pointed out, human rights. Almost all African kingdoms were very brutal. Not only that of Kabaka Mwanga. All African kingdoms were very brutal and oppressive. And that's why the one of Ankole is not being allowed. The ruling, Bahima, very oppressive to the Beiru. If we want to move forward as Africans, let's just correct that aspect of human rights. Because another young man said here, now we are educated. Now we know what to do. Let us bring back the cultural institutions with amendments. We change the brutality. We bring in human rights. KY, I tell you, there is nobody who was as Pan-Africanist as Kabaka Mutesa, the one who was killed. When he was at Hudo, his best friend was somebody from Rwanda. The king of Rwanda was his best friend when they were at Hudo. Do you know why when the Kabaka was attacked, when his Rubidi was attacked, you know why he took that direction? People in Uganda, when we flee to Kenya, Tanzania, not so. The man fled via Rwanda and Burundi because he had a friend, the king of Rwanda. I'm the legal counsel for Inzu Yamasaba.
Inzu
Yamasaba is the kingdom of the Bagisu and the Bakusu. That kingdom is Pan-Africanist. It cuts across Uganda and Kenya. Actually, the Mugisu who saved Museveni's life was a Mugisu from Kenya. Wamanyala. He was called the...
He saved his life. When
Museveni had been captured as a rebel, he was supposed to be executed. But that police officer, Augustine, was called Augustine. Awamanyala or something. He spared, instead of executing him, he spared his life and allowed him to escape. By the way, from my being legal counsel, I learned a lot that even these so-called Bahima generals who began to support Museveni in the liberation war, they came after Bagisu. Bagisu were the first to support Museveni when he started his war, before any Muhima could even have sense to support him. So, kingdoms are inherently Pan-Africanist. We have the kingdom of Toro. There are more of Toro actually in DRC. We have the kingdom in Alur. They have 3.5 million. Alur in Congo. Only 500 in Uganda. Kingdoms are Pan-Africanist. There is the one of the Bakonzo. Majority there. Actually,
the oldest kingdom is Busongora Kingdom.
Yes.
Told. Busongora Kingdom.
This one of the
led by my friend King Kasagama. Dan.
I'm ever writing, so forgive me for writing. You are a man of wisdom, so when you speak, I write something.
The oldest kingdom is Busongora Kingdom. It's led by, now it's being led by, he's my friend, Dan Kashagama.
Exactly.
Imara. Dan Imara Kashagama the second.
So, when you and let me tell you, there is a training, a natural training a prince has about leadership. You see, when a prince is in the kingdom, he is trained to be responsible to the subjects. He's trained to be responsible to protect wealth. What we are having now, why we have MPs who are very greedy
and reckless.
You have somebody elected. Their family is a peasantry family. They have never seen riches. The moment he becomes a minister, can even eat iron sheets. There's no money he can live because he was not trained in the discipline. But I can tell you, in Uganda, the princes, there is a way they have respect for things of people. Look at how many kingdoms, structures are in Uganda, which government is using, which was constructed by the Uganda kingdom, gentlemen. How much discipline did those people have? Former Supreme Court, all the sub-county courts. In fact, judiciary should be paying the kingdom. Almost every court in Uganda started.
They pay them. Them.
Almost every kingdom.
They
all
pay.
Government. So, kingdoms, let us just correct the brutality. And then we remove the brutality. Even for me,
before you leave the point of view, let me also give you a small story. The biggest kingdom, Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, which was cutting across even to Zaire, Mboga.
Yes. Mboga Zaire.
In Mboga Zaire.
Yes.
The king of Bunyoro had a son, and the subjects of Toro Kingdom, used to bring their concerns to Bunyoro Kingdom here, the main headquarters. But their concerns would take long before they are resolved. So because he had an old son, he sent him to Toro Kingdom to be now resolving their problems.
Yes.
Now those subjects realized that their issues with this son were being resolved very fast. He would actually sit, if you have cases and so on, he would sit there and listen to you and make decisions without you going to Bunyoro. And walking from Toro to Bunyoro, Professor George William, would take not less than 2 days of walking. Then you sit there for about a week waiting for the response from the king. So when the king sent his son in Toro Kingdom, and these subjects realized that the issues were being solved very fast, the subjects themselves started instigating the son. Why don't you become our king, by the way?
Exactly.
Don't go back. They are the ones who started instigating. You can manage this kingdom. You're solving our problems. Why should we be going back? So the son listened to the subjects. Now he stayed this time around. He refused to go back.
And
when the king sent, his father, when he sent him his men to come and pick him, he refused to go. He said, I'm remaining here. I want to solve people's problems. Ask them. They are asking me to stay. This person said, but the king has said, we take you. He said, no, I'm not going. Now they decided to fight. When they decided to fight, this subject had already organized their army. And they said, if you want to fight, we shall fight from here and we shall win you. They went back and reported to the main king. The king said, now
let him
I cannot kill my own son.
Let him now stay.
Let him be.
Exactly.
That's how the Toro Kingdom
It's a very interesting story.
came to being. So why? The issue was explained. Why do I explain this? It's about people-centered leadership.
People-centered leadership. Yes.
People-centered leadership. Now, today you have, like I started in my preamble, you have a land issue from Karamoja that is in Kampala here. And the High Court is sitting here. They are listening to the matter. They have never visited the locus. And the land matter takes 20 years. By the time they make judgment, the old man is dead. People-centered leadership. Professor, I'm sorry for
I learn
disturbing you.
I learn a lot from your wisdom. And I want to emphasize and I want to take it from where you have brought it. That the traditional African kingdoms, they had a people-centered view. Actually, you are picking my mind, even that young man, because we must now. By the way, we have no alternative as Ugandans as we go to 2026. The democracy has failed. The parties have failed. Whether we like it or not, we must sit down and explore traditional African institutions as form of governance. Like Maponga said, ours is Ubuntu. By the way, as a deep Christian, I tell you this. It's about what we call righteousness. And these kingdoms, especially in the intra-Castrian region, Buganda, Busoga, Bunyoro, Toro, they have their origin from the ancient Christian you know, the ancient Jewish kingdoms of Egypt. That's why the Baganda have the Damula. How many are Baganda here? Do you know the Damula? What is the Damula? The Damula is a stick. It is a stick. Now it is a stick which is like the stick of Moses.
And it's an instrument.
It is an instrument of authority.
Of power.
And that is why, if you look at the speaker also, no, it is like the stick of Moses. It is.
So this is
in Uganda here, they get it from the island. It is specific. But it is made to
Moses could have had his, but this is mine.
Yes.
This is the power of authority.
Yeah. It is supposed to be long like the stick of Moses. So the Damura and all these kingdoms which were set up here, they were set up on that theocracy. Theocracy. And the theocracy is what our guest of honor is coming here was talking about.
Maponga Joshua.
Yes, righteousness, Ubuntu. I like the point someone raised about politicians. We are producing politicians, but not what? Leaders. If Africa is to develop, we need a system that produces people, like this prison officer has told us here.
We need a system that produces leaders, not politicians.
Not politicians, like the
and
prison officer
even
has told us something
and
very
unfortunately,
important.
even in Africa, they don't practice politics.
No politics.
They practice politics.
Yeah, the other person, yes, politics, tricks. The prison officer said one very important thing. If we want democracy to work, just be good to the poor what?
Poor people.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm a father. And last month I became a grandfather. I don't know whether I told you.
Yeah, you told me.
I got a granddaughter. But I look at these young people. Gentlemen, my sons, what is government? What is government? Government is supposed to be that thing that should give you a house when you finish school. It should give you a job when you finish school.
Isn't that laziness, Professor, you're teaching now?
What about, this is Pan-Africanism. Do you know about Gaddafi?
To give this old man a house.
Do you know about Gaddafi, Right Honorable Speaker?
Yes, I do.
What did Gaddafi do? You know. Gaddafi had a government. As soon as the university student has finished, there is a house given.
And they marry for your wife.
Are those not things that happen? Was that not a government?
And even it is government that was educating you. Not
exactly. Free of charge.
Not your parents.
So is that not, I ask you now, the speaker, is that not government?
It is government, sir.
So you are saying
I'm sorry, sir.
Exactly.
I apologize.
So, let me tell you, the government is supposed to ensure that the youth have something to eat.
After all, it is collecting from you.
It's collecting the taxes
from you.
And the youth must eat. The youth must get a job. In Libya, Gaddafi was paying a certain amount of money before you get a job. When we went to the university, they were paying us money that they were paying us because it is expected that you as a university student, you are not yet working, but they were giving you respect. You are going to work. You are going to be a big man. Get some coins in your pocket. What is happening to our youth today? No respect.
There is no boom.
Children, no boom at the university. Children come out.
Instead, it is you.
The child stays at home 5 years. The government must pay something to this child. Then
most of the leaders of your generation who are leading today, they all acquired free education.
Yes, free education. I
was in the same leadership. These students are paying.
I was in the same year with Mao. I was it was a year below me, but I consider it the same year. In fact, this is our year that is ruling. But you see, I mean, it is in many sectors.
Your generation,
our generation. But I can assure you, we are being selfish. We are educated free of charge.
So now you are being honest,
and
Professor.
now we are in government, but we are asking for people to pay.
The students who have not yet started working.
That is why the young girls at the university don't have decorum. Because they have to struggle through university. And when they come out of university, They cannot have respect for government money because they have got to be corrupt to pay back the land the father sold.
They're already in debt.
Yes, the father sold land to educate, which the father would not have sold if there was free education.
Yeah.
He has to be corrupt to educate the brothers because the father is saying, I educated you, now do this. So, government, and Pope John Paul, when he came to Kenya, said, government.
They're also collecting our money, those religious leaders.
Yes,
Not giving
but
back
they
to the
said,
community.
government is about sharing the natural resources. If you're a leader, ask yourself, how many youth are coming out of the university? How many are going to get a job? How many are not going to get a job? How many years have people spent out of university and they have not married? A whole generation is being killed. Because the youth are not marrying, they cannot support
the families.
The families.
Professor, wind up.
I wind up by
Have we
saying,
not deviated from the main topic?
No.
Okay.
It is democracy. When we say Kofi Olomide sang a song.
Oh.
Kofi Olomide. And it is straight on this topic. He said, La démocratie, il fait travailler. Il fait travailler.
Meaning?
Democracy. It must work. It should be made to work. Another person made that point. We should do everything so that democracy works. The question is, it works for who? If an MP now earns 50 million, whether from opposition or government, is that democracy? Is it working? They are earning. Working for who? It should work for the people. To make it democracy, a government for the people and by the people. This events of this week, somebody said, why should we talk about America, USA democracies? I understand that. That's why whenever we have a topic, we try to make it that we talk about Uganda's things. Now, is the democracy of Uganda working? By all means, no. The fact that there is a parliament in which MPs are earning 50 million per month from opposition and what, does not mean that's democracy working.
By the way, Professor, do you know, the other day I realized I was doing research. Members of Parliament of Uganda, they are highly paid, more than European European Union members of Parliament.
Exactly.
And yet, the EU is one that funds Uganda.
You know, you people.
European Union funds Uganda.
Exactly.
But MPs of Uganda are being paid more money than
the Prime Minister of Belgium was walking on the street. He uses a motorcycle to go to his office. He was also shown. So is democracy working? It's not. And for me, I want to say Pan-Africans, Mugisha said, we should renew our what? Minds. I want you to remember what I told you about 6 debates past. What did I say? I said to you, don't allow any political party leader to come to you and say, now you're a member of my party, support me, I'm working for you, and pay you nothing. Demand to know what he's going to do to improve your condition. Yeah. Above all, if you're going to be appointed an agent in your village, demand a sum of money which is respectable. Because you're the ones becoming the problem. They come with pressure. No, put FDC what? Who wants to be a member here? No, Museveni, Master Gende. Just give me 5,000. I'll be the agent here. You're a university graduate. You're not going to be respected. Ask for 1 million to be an agent in that village, collect the problems in the village, and then take. Value yourself first.
Thank you so much, Professor Alenyo Jejuela. Give him a round of applause.